or I think we have a date, March 2nd, I think. But since they haven't told us the specifics of it yet, I can't tell you. So our next steps, we're going to continue to do the teaching the way we've been doing, to higher level critical thinking skills, independent thinking that's embedded in the state standards, a continued emphasis on how do you take those skills and apply them. We don't want to have a test that just asks for student knowledge. We want to ask for understanding. How are they going to take their knowledge and apply it? And there's lovely research out there that will show that if you teach them the skills rather than a particular test, the students perform well on any test they take. If you teach them to a particular test, they might perform well on that test. We want better than that. And that's it. Questions?
Thank you very much. Dr. Schwartz. Just a couple of things about Dr. Schwartz's presentation. As you know, the notion of defining enrollment and keeping the middle school teams intact has been an issue that we've been dealing with. And Dr. Schwartz's presentation is in an attempt to be able to deal with that so that we can take a look at staffing versus enrollment, yet maintaining teams. I think that that's one of the things that can be guiding principle in this process.
A few folks want to comment.
Seems like every 3 years I get come up before the board and propose something different. Last year I was up here talking about STEM. One of the things we've engaged in over the last couple of years is a discussion around personalized learning. I believe I presented or talked to the board at some point about this about a year or two ago. I gave out a book, courtesy, actually I found out about a book from Lauren Fairman called Inevitable. I'll reference the book in a second. I handed it out to the subcommittee, and I think some of the board members got it as well. So it's always important to start off, because we always tell all of our students ask us why do I have to learn this, why do I have to do this. I'm not going to give you the video because it's an 18-minute video, but there's a video on YouTube by Simon Sinek that's starting with a question of why. If you're into Apple computers, Dell computers, or into basically understanding some advertising strategies, it's not a bad video to watch. It's included on the PowerPoint that's coming around. If we go a little bit further, the reason why is, to give you some of the background, is currently at the middle school we have our traditional programs, which include the 6 teams. Students come in 7th grade, they're assigned to one of the teams. They follow a traditional 8-period day schedule. They might actually have qualified for the STEM program if they met the assessment criteria using the NWA, their math scores along with reading scores and the math placement test. If they're not in the STEM program, they may also be receiving support through special education. What we're proposing was this sort of left a gap. It doesn't sit well when you create a program. I know we've talked about STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. We actually have that component with one of the art teachers right now in terms of graphic arts. We have a proposal for a class for music technology next year, which is nice. But one of the things we don't really get at are the students who are strong in humanities and even strong in some ways in the arts in different ways. And so it didn't sit well with a group of us. And as we went through our own committee work, through our school improvement committee work, and then through what I would call the personalized learning committee, we came up with a couple of initiatives. Actually, let me go back a second. We came up with this idea that we needed to meet the needs of students who are sort of non-traditional students that come to RHAM Middle School. They might be students that go out to various places either later on, in their schooling in ninth grade to different programs, or they might go on before they even get to us in sixth grade to some of the magnet programs. And the areas that we really didn't have a focus for were the individualized areas of student interest. It came up on the Bernhardt survey that one of the lowest grades was that students do not have a choice or a say in what they learn. So we came up with an idea of how to give them give them back their say in an academic environment. And that was the Inquiry Academy. I believe all of you got brochures that we have created, along with an application that we've created, and we can discuss that if there are questions at the end. But just to give you an idea, the initiatives aren't going away that we're working on. We continue to work on the STEM program. It's been 3 years now. We're in year 3. We have all of our 7th graders who are in it, one on each team. We have a group on each team. And we also have a group on each team in 8th grade. So going forward, that program will still be maintained and still be maintained in its current format. The Continue with the Common Core initiatives, Lauren has talked about instructional strategies and curriculum review and revisions. This is ongoing. It's something that's not going away. It's going to be with us for as long as we're here. The new things are the one-on-one initiative with the Google Tech, the schools. I know Jerry Deneen and Lauren Fearman every Monday has been providing valuable professional development to our middle school staff. If you ask them when they started this process, they would have cursed at Google and Google Schools, the one-on-one initiative. If you ask them now, and hopefully the surveys will show that, they're a lot kinder bunch. They're very happy with it. We have a lot of staff that are, I can't believe I walk into classes now, I'm watching kids on their Chromebooks. Either they're starting assessments right away, or they're starting to take down the agenda and recording it on their calendar online, which is nice to see. Included in that initiative is the Personalized Learning Committee. A group of teachers just came together. We looked at the book Inevitable. We looked at a personalized learning white paper that was put out by, I think it was Connecticut Association of Schools, CAS. And we came up with an idea called the RAM Academy. The teachers came up with the idea of the format. We sort of put the process together, and we had a group of about 13 to 15 teachers working on this. And part of the academy process we looked at was a non-traditional format. Now, the superintendent, I know, has mentioned, this sort of fits in with some of the declining enrollment. We know enrollment's going down. I took a poll of all my staff. All my staff can raise their hand and tell you that enrollment is going down. We know it. We know that we can mitigate enrollment through the shifting of positions to account for the decrease. I know the superintendent has some proposals about retirements and things, and how we can mitigate some of those even at the middle school to accommodate. The RAM Academy can do that for us over 2 years. It can take into account the decreased enrollment while expanding the programming for students in a non-traditional format that would meet their needs. The last initiative on there, which I'd always mentioned before, was the standards-based grading and reporting. We did talk to the sending town principals. Andover has been looking at this. Hebron is fully engaged in this. Matter of fact, we just got a copy today of the 5th and 6th grade standards-based report cards. There are no grades on it. It's just basically skills and standards. And they're being measured by the skills and standards. And whether the kids can achieve those standards or skills, you're comparing apples and apples. And it's a philosophical change. It's something that we have initiated. We're not there yet because we're still working by department on developing standards and a format. And once we have the format, along with all the standards from each of the departments, we will bring it to the programming committee and hopefully to the full board, and to answer a lot of the questions to the parents as well in the community. We'd love to have forums. We'd love to have parents involved in that discussion because, as I know Hebron has found out, it helps to bring these things out into the open. It is not something new. It's been around for years. Matter of fact, we've looked at it, I think about 5 years ago we started this. I'm not going to put my teacher who's here on the spot, but he was a member of that committee as well, on the standards-based committee. And we looked at implementing that about 5 years ago. We knew we weren't ready then, and we knew that perhaps it was going to take some time. Even with the academy, we knew that the academy, the model, the idea of personalized learning, even last year, if I had another year, that's ideal. But I know that with some of the pressures and some of the things that are going on with the board and with the towns, sooner is better than later for this, which you'll see even in our timeline. So standards-based grading is a topic. It's out there. It's not finalized by any stretch of the means. A lot of discussion will be held, and hopefully we'll have that discussion probably in January, February, somewhere around there. So the Personalized Learning Committee, as I said, this was one of the things we were looking at. Those of you that read the book probably were enamored with the idea of scheduling your own time. I think the students would, our current high school students would love the idea that they could come in on their own time, to pick a time that they wanted to work on their classes. They may be doing that now, I don't know. To take courses online as well as in person in a regular classroom setting. So, on the brochure you'll see a lot of question marks. The idea is passion for learning, explore new ideas, non-traditional approach, and the choice factor. That would seem to be, that sort of stood out for us even in the surveys. So, having said all that, what does that mean? So this is our overall definition. It was designed to provide students with more individualized education, and you can read it. Some of it is jargony, and some of it is right to the point. But basically, you're looking at integrating subject areas and allowing students to explore topics such as, if they were interested, I'll give the example of dance, which can be personal, music, art tech, history. I have an art teacher who's interested in working probably with a social studies teacher and doing interdisciplinary history through the arts. Different types of projects. It's a project-based course, classes. And it's not a single project. It could be different projects, and they're all related. But through them, they'll be measured on whether they meet certain competencies. And those are the competencies or the standards that are required of all 7th graders at RHAM Middle School, not just the academy kids. All 7th graders. Whether you call it standards-based or non-standards-based, there are competencies kids have to meet.
So the curriculum stays exactly the same? Because the curriculum talks about the big ideas, the enduring understandings. Our curriculum doesn't talk about what test you take on what day, or what chapter and what book you read. Our curriculum talks about what are the things that we expect you to know in this discipline area. And within this team, we can set it up with a core group of teachers who have some block scheduling so that students can say, I want to, I'm interested in marine biology. So I want to propose a project in which I do an investigation into this topic. I'm going to write a paper that is an expository paper. I'm also going to take a position and write an argumentative paper about it. I'm going to tell you the history of it in this particular area. I'll do a presentation along these lines, and through the course of talking with the teachers, can set up the projects that will hit every one of the standards connected with every one of our discipline areas, and then using the exact same rubrics that we use in the traditional classroom, measure whether the student has or has not met those ideas successfully. It's a way of letting a student basically create their own magnet school. And if we are using the same standards and the same curriculum, we're just getting to use the jargon, a multiple pathways to success. The objective stays the same. The measurement of success in terms of the rubric is the same, but the particular project can be very different according to the student's interests. While at the same time, for the majority of our students, their classes and the teams that they're on are going to look exactly the way they always have. If you are fond of the traditional model, it's going to be there. And for the majority of students and parents who want the traditional model, there it is. We have this designed initially for about 40 to 50 students. And over the course of 2 years, it will then become 90 to 100 students of a mixed group of grade 7 and grade 8. And will take us from 6 teams in the middle school down to 5. With 4 of those teams, 2 on 7 and 2 on 8, remaining exactly the same traditional model that we have, and 1 team being a non-traditional model that is made up entirely of volunteer teachers, volunteer students. I'm going to fade into the background.
Thank you, Lauren. With that said, because I know that the next thing that comes up is, okay, so you're gonna do this, but you have to do that, you have to let us know whether it's a go or a no-go, because budget season's coming up. So we're very conscious of that fact in the background, along with scheduling for this type of academy program. We did approach the sending town principals with the concept and the ideas ahead of time to give them a heads up. We actually have scheduled, as you can tell, the 19th, we met with the Board of Ed Program Committee to float the idea through them. On the 20th, we met with the sending town administrators to float the idea through them. We're here tonight to put this out on the table for all you folks. And then we are going to meet, we had plans to meet with the 6th grade students this week to hand out some of the brochures and applications. Because there's no sense in talking about a program if no one's interested. I can talk apples and apples aren't, I can talk till I'm blue in the face. But we don't know who's interested, who isn't. So we decided we'd send out the application early. We have a return date for this application of December 15th. That'll give us numbers. That way if we meet or at least close to the number 40, I think is sort of our magic number in our heads. Right now, I believe, and it could have changed, we have 249 students coming up from 6 to 7. And right now in the middle school, we have 289 in 7th grade. Actually, I take it back, 290, we got another student. That's where we are. We know what the future looks like in terms of the numbers game. As Lauren said, we know that we will go down over 2 years with this process to 5 teams. November 12th is going to be our first parent informational night. Obviously, we want parents involved in the discussion. So they're going to, hopefully, we're sending this out through the elementary schools to all the 6th grade parents. We'll get some folks then, and then in December we'll have a second one as well, probably around the first week of December. Yes, sir?
This program could actually add students to the school, because you have a significant number of students that go to some of these crack or Hartford magnet schools, so they're looking for something like this already. This could reverse some of that trend.
Yep.
We've been talking about this for a while, so I think we have a reasonable idea. Are you going to, and I'm not familiar, I don't think I've ever seen starting with Y, but are you going to show that or something so that the kids and the parents can get a sense of, like when CAPS puts on the presentations of personalized learning, they show a typical day or a classroom or some pieces?
I think at the parent informational meeting, we would do that.
Okay.
The problem is with our sending towns, they've given us about 15 minutes, 20 minutes to talk to the
Okay.
kids before we send the brochures home. The parents just give them a quick flavor. I have some staff going with me on different days. This was really last minute. They got
Yeah.
notice on the 20th, and they gracefully volunteered their staff's time.
Do you have something on the website?
I can put nothing up until this meeting. I want to make sure I get all my ducks are in order. Tomorrow morning,
Yeah.
That was the concern I had earlier.
well,
We really need to take action quickly.
so action to be taken, just as everybody is aware, whether, I don't know, I know you're talking about a vote and things like that, and if that happens later, that's fine. But we could be, like I said, we could be talking about nothing if no one shows or if no one's interested too. So there's sort of a balance between the two. We are putting something up tomorrow morning on the website for the parents to look at and for people to access, which is the application. Actually, I also created a website. Hopefully within the next week that'll go up as well with more resources so people can click on it and go look around at other programs. I happen to be in a cohort with some other superintendent candidates, and they are talking about this in urban districts. Actually, 2 of them, I believe, are going to this model for secondary, for high school.
So the 2 meetings scheduled for November 12th and one to be announced in December, are those forums that will be hosted here at the school that
Yes.
parents can come in and share input?
Yes.
And the last time we kind of, somehow, some way, there was a discussion about standard, this type of grading initiative that went out in a paper before it went to the board, and there was a hearing here, and it kind of went crazy, right?
Yeah, this isn't about standards-based grading. This is about the RAM Academy, Inquiry Academy.
Understood,
Yep.
understood, but, okay.
No, and parents can give input, well, ask
Your
questions.
initiative, the
Yep.
standards-based grading.
It is one of them, yes.
It is one of them. It's
It
part
is
of
an initiative, yes.
Which requires board action for approval.
Yes.
Okay.
That'll come in January or
If it's not,
February.
I'll take it off my list, but I have some notes here.
Yep.
You can imagine I got a lot of emails over the last 5 hours for some reason about this.
Yes.
subject matter. So, but I guess, it'll be interesting to make sure we have those forums and the information and communications are done right this time. Because there's a lot of people with expectations that the board was going to take some action tonight. And were promised that there would be another forum and information exchange, so I think there's interest. That's my only comment. And the last question I have is, if it's going to impact incoming sixth graders, it's not going to impact current students now, right?
Nope.
Right, so it'll be is there.
The seventh graders will move up to eighth grade just as they go over
Right,
here.
so when these sixth graders get to eighth grade or seventh graders, if by some chance they're taking the high school classes such as the honor
They
Spanish.
still take
Stays
credit.
exactly the same.
Are they
Stays the
going to
same.
get a letter grade?
Yes, because if you're taking a class for high school credit, it is the high school class.
Yep.
Yes, Tom.
This academy is just for Hebron, Marlboro, and Andover students.
Yes.
Now, you use the word academy. Now, does that have its own entity? I mean, now, is that an academy within RAM?
Yes.
Okay, so.
School within a school.
All right, but
The
you
name of the
use the
team.
word magnet school. Now, I mean, the word was put out there. And now magnet schools in the state of Connecticut, a lot of kids can go to that from out of the area. If you're gonna use the word magnet school.
They can now, around, if somebody from out.
Now, I'm aware of that, but these academies, because even now the magnet schools are starting to get watered down, because they just can't pick the elite. You read it in the
Oh,
paper,
right.
no, it's
Right.
changed a lot.
Right.
So it's very nice what you want, you get the best performance students.
This
Are you able
actually
to
is
keep
not
it
set
that way,
up for
just
that.
Hebron, Marlboro, and Andover, without a problem?
As long as students want to go to it, the answer is yes. If you're talking about, are we opening it up to other students from other
School
areas,
district, right.
other school districts, that's a different discussion that we would have with the board first.
Right.
Question, you say here this fits in with declining enrollment, and there's a lower teacher-to-student ratio. I'm trying to understand how.
So the first year we're proposing 4 teachers for this team, and it would be an English teacher, a social studies teacher, a math teacher, and a science teacher. We also have the support of our unified arts teachers, so they would also work along with this team. We have art, well, actually, we have probably somebody from every of the different areas to work in collaboration with the team. That actually it does result in a reduction of 1 teacher initially. There's not a special ed teacher attached to the team at the moment. Now that may change the following year, since you're talking about these teachers, you get 40 more the following year, or 50 more, or whatever the number is, so now they have 100 students, and you're talking reduction of a whole team of 8th grade. Now, looking at projecting into the future, and I'm not gonna, I don't want to get into all the nitty-gritty, but it is possible to mitigate those reductions without basically letting staff go. We've worked it out through the retirements, we've looked at the retirements, and we projected into the future and how we can shift things around.
We should not have to let anybody go.
Right.
We should be able to do this through attrition.
So you have 6 teams now,
We would go down to 5.
Over 2 years.
Over 2 years. Over 2 years, it would go to 5. Next year would still be 6, the academy team would be 1, and then the following year we'd be 5 teams. And going forward, it would stay 5, and if something else changes, then obviously that could change as well.
It has a smaller number for next year as we go through the transition. As the teachers figure out how to make this work, as we have as our numbers support 5.5 teams. You can't have 5.5 teams.
Yeah,
And within a following year, our number supports 5 teams. So we will have a transition over the course of 2 years while we get this up and running, assuming that we have the interest that we've been led to believe that there will be, through talking through the program committee, the principals of the 3 sending schools who are very enthusiastic about this, who told us at our meeting that they could already identify for us students in their current 6th grade who they think would be successful in this kind of program. They knew of students who were currently in 7th grade who they wished this program had been available for. We hear that from some parents as well.
Will you be able to differentiate or segment out or compare students in this program with their standard assessments results
Of course.
comparatively to
Yeah.
the rest
Yeah.
of the
Absolutely. Which will let us see whether it does what we hope that it will do. Yeah.
Any other questions?
How few of students could we run the program on?
We could run it with as few as 40, because we expect to have incoming roughly 240 to 250. We couldn't run it with fewer than that, or the other teams would be too big. You can't run a team with 120 kids on it. So we'd have to have at least 40 volunteers for it, and we probably couldn't run it with too much more than 50 to 60, at least not for the first year.
There's some good YouTube and different things, it's some of the work that East Con and our Rest did, Nellie May, and some other things on personalized learning, and some things on CAP I was just looking up during your talk. I wonder, for parents or students or staff, I think you've got a great idea here on the kind of kid. I mean, it might be helpful to kind of have, the traditional, the kind of, in general, profile that would be the traditional student, the STEM student, and maybe the personalized learning or academy student, and understanding that some students or many students would be successful in all 3 and so forth. But just to give people, a little bit of a direction, because it's new, and, I think we said at the program committee, we really applaud all of your energy, and we're excited about it, but I think there did seem to piggyback on what Danny said, I do think from some very excellent students, there seemed to be some confusion with some topics, and that's the only reason I was looking for a video or something, because we kind of know what we're talking about, and we've read that book and done different things, but so people could actually kind of, sometimes what you imagine in your mind is different than when you see it.
And there's some good blended learning clips that we can pull up
Yeah,
to show as models
yeah, perfect.
that other districts have used. There's actually those available also on the website. We just have to relocate them.
It almost seemed like they were more offended by the fact that it wouldn't be traditional grades than anything else. The students who were concerned.
Yeah, they didn't understand what
It's
it's all
right, it
about.
just seemed like there's some misinformation, not completely understand.
Any other questions?
So this is just 7th and 8th grade?
Yep.
So what
Yes.
happens when they transition to high school?
Like put Mr. Leslie on the spot.
Well, I think
They're gonna
we-
look at it.
I think we need to see if the program flies to begin with, and then, where the students are, because, we're not just looking where they're coming, we have to look at where they're going as well, so we'd have to see the success of the program and then determine what the best transition would look like at high school.
So you have 2 years basically.
Yeah.
to assess that and put something in place.
There are high schools that do this completely.
So you want them to transfer to those high schools when they're done?
No, we're trying to keep it.
In Maine, it's a proven.
And there are a couple of schools within Connecticut that have done this school within a school model for the high school. So there is the potential to have students who are interested in continuing to pursue this, continue to do things this way through the high school while the rest of the school maintains a traditional approach to things. But as we said, we have to see whether there's sufficient interest and whether we can make the scheduling and the program work successfully for the students. If there isn't a sufficient interest in it, if the thought that you might not get an A, and you might be assessed by being told that you met the standards rather than being sorted the way people are used to is too frightening for people, then it won't get off the ground. But we can't plan for what it'll look like 3 years from now until we know whether or not we've got the interest in it now.
What are the budgetary requirements to pull this off?
We need the one-to-one environment. You can't do this without having the students all have the laptops.
You all have the Chromebooks or laptops.
Beyond that, they're the same requirements as other classes. It doesn't require any particular add-on. It is the approach of it.
We have the one-to-one in 8th grade. This is a group of 7th graders.
We're already doing that with the one-on-one.
We've come close now with the laptops that we've absorbed going down.
We just initiated
Over the next board.
Right.
Just so I'm clear, is this going to be in addition to next year's budget, or is it a plan? The one-to-one to 7th grade?
Well, what we have at the moment with the technology that's already in the building, we have 70 laptops per 7th grade team. We would need to make sure that for this group of 40 to 50 students, that they had a one-to-one environment. It might mean that we would need an additional 30 in order to make sure that the other teams had what they needed. But we might also be able to manage it with just maintaining things the way they were. But the kids who are in this program have to have all the time that one-to-one environment.
I agree, I just want the board to be clear
Sure.
on anything, that there is a budget impact, and it could be substantial, so before we go,
Yep.
just doing whatever, you
Yep.
understand that. The last thing I'll note is, in your brochure, I know you're concerned about acceptance from outside communities, but one of the requirements is for kids to write an essay, which I think will turn off some kids right away. So I think if you're really
Probably.
interested in getting some good attendance initially, and then try to weed it out, I think that might give you a better result, but this is just my.
Okay. Just to be honest with you, the essay was just to find out what their interests are, so that going in, the teachers would know what topics maybe to talk about.
I was late Friday and into Saturday, I went to the New England Gifted Conference, and a lot of the elite, expensive private schools are implementing this model. And I ended up talking with a couple of consultants with UConn and shared with them some of what you were doing, and they were very impressed and excited. And I think that, and I didn't want to speak for you, so I think that, they want to actually follow up. They were excited that an area school might actually take on
Find
this
out their
work.
names, yeah.
Yeah, I have the names,
Okay.
yeah.
What would the criteria would be used to limit it to? I really think the problem would be cutting people, not having enough.
Well,
We hope we have.
if we have that problem, one of the proposals I would have is to do a lottery, a random lottery, literally names out of the hat. Because if that's really the issue, then to be fair.
We'll take references
Yeah.
from the sending teachers and the parents, is this a kid that's going to work with? But because this isn't we're not looking for the student who already knows how to do school well. So student grades are not necessarily a predictor of success in this kind of open-ended environment. The references and recommendations from teachers who have worked with the students would be very helpful. But if we wind up in a place where we've got 80 students, everybody is saying they'd be perfect for this, and we've asked them to write an essay and they've all written something, and we've looked at it and said they all